I'm John Waring from Waring's Gym, and welcome to this edition of Frontline.
Welcome to another edition of Frontline. We've got a great program for you this month. We're going to start it out with Chief Carter. He's come by the program. We're going to do a little Chief's Corner segment for you. There's a lot of really new good stuff going on, and we're going to talk about that and spend some time with him. So, Chief, thank you for coming by the program.
Sure, buddy. Glad to be here.
A lot of stuff is going on, particularly this time of year when we start talking about budget. And I know we're looking a little bit better than we have in the past years. You might want to outline that. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on?
Well, yes, buddy. I think in preparing for the '94 operating budget, we got our numbers the other day, if you will. What OMB has suggested would be our target figure.
Right.
We were pretty much impressed with that, simple for the fact that it's about $500,000 over our current operating budget, which gives us a pretty good target figure. Now we have to figure in that obviously some monies that haven't been counted for, such as the captain's pay increase and some fringe benefits, those types of things. But we think it's going to be pretty good. We won't be able to do any magnificent things, but we'll be able to do some of those things that we've held off for the last 2 or 3 years. So.
When you say $500,000 and then some of that is taken up, about how much of that has already been laid out?
Well, we haven't really put the numbers down yet. We just got this information at the end of last week, and we tried to share it with the staff on Tuesday, but Chief Kellum is still breaking down those numbers for us. But it looks like there may be about $200,000 to $300,000 range that we can use to buy some items that we've been pushing back for 2 or 3 years. And we have yet to sit down and figure out what those items are. Obviously, the captains and the engine companies and the battalion officers are still trying to put some items together that they're going to need to continue their operations. So we've got to work on those things.
What kind of things this year you think we'll be concentrating on?
Well, obviously, one of the things we've got to look at as far as running up and down a highway are our battalion vehicles. We're going to get some of those replaced this year, and we want to finish out that program next year with what the team recommended, which is a bigger suburban type vehicle. We have to look at several of our inspectors' cars that have over 120,000 miles on some of them, and they're breaking down on me on a regular basis. So we're going to try to put some of those in the replacement system. And we got a couple of trucks earmarked for replacement that might go in a priority category of 2 or 3 or something like that. But we still have to look at a lot of numbers yet. But those are some of the things we're looking at.
Really? I know we were supposed to at one time get 3 battalion vehicles, right? That's what we were originally going to get, and we only ended up with money for 2.
Well, yeah. Actually, we weren't supposed to get any battalion vehicles when we put the budget together 18 months ago.
Right.
That's one of the things we probably ought to address. But because of the wear and the breakdown and the maintenance on these units, we as a staff decided that if we were going to get 3 vehicles in this budget, that we would try to buy 3 battalion vehicles, which was a little bit of a problem since we didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
Well, in order to try to move that money, it was going to be a council action, and we decided, elected not to go to council to transfer that money at this time of the year. So to offset that, instead of buying 3 cars, we're just going to buy 2 cars. And we have enough money for those. And both of them will be the battalion suburban type cars.
Right. I heard word, well, obviously when the chief was going over it the other day, he was talking about the budget and considerations for the livability of the environment and starting to concentrate on that. I thought it was interesting that, well, I guess the analogy was, you know, if you needed a new refrigerator, you probably needed it 6 months ago. How come you need it right now? Is that something you can explain?
Well, yes. I think sometimes, you know, we think of our living environment as maybe our own house or something like that, which we should, but we can't go out and buy items like we can at our house. That's the bad part about it. So we have to program these things anywhere from 12 to 18 months in advance, and that's what we need to look at the livability aspects, the refrigerators and the stoves and the dishwashers and the carpet on the floor and beds and furniture and those types of things. We need to look at long range. You know, if this thing is 10, 12 years old and you know after a while it's going to, it's going to take a crapshoot on you, then you need to start looking at that item and put those in your budgets.
Well, it's good to see that at least we're looking a little better than we have in past years with the whole budget. Instead of concentrating on not losing anything, we're going to maybe get a few new things. That'll be a nice change.
Oh yes, and we're looking forward to it. I mean, it's not a lot to sing about. We're not in the figures that we had in the late '80s, but it's pretty promising to see that there's money out there, or hopefully money out there this year to give us some of those things that we haven't had in the last 2 or 3 years.
That's good. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about that EMS Fire Committee, the new EMS Fire Committee.
Okay, I think everybody knows there was a memo sent out and we asked for some volunteers to come and sit in on the EMS Fire Committee because we sort of changed the focus of that committee that had worked for about a year or so. I got tremendous support for that. Had an awful lot of interest, and a lot of people put their name in the hat to try to work with that. We sat down and narrowed it down to 4 people from the fire service and 4 from the EMS service and put those people together. They met last week with the fire chief and the EMS director to get some direction on what their goal was and how they were going to achieve some of those goals. So that was a good meeting. And basically, what's going to happen with this group is that the fire service and the EMS service will actually provide problems, if you will, or issues that need to be looked at by this group of individuals, and they can go out and analyze it and make recommendations back for change and try to implement some things like that. I'm kind of excited about it.
Are they going to be getting real-time problems? I mean, this isn't just a...
Oh yes.
This just isn't a...
well, as a matter of fact, 2 of the key
committee.
issues we talked about the other day, one should be relatively simple to resolve. The other one's going to be a little more complex. But one of them was recommended by the fire service, and the other one was recommended by the EMS service that they're going to look at. They don't even know what they are yet because they haven't received their official letter, so we'll wait and hold that in advance before we put it out on the camera here. But I think they can get a quick turnaround on these 2 issues and get some really good input and resolve something that's been going on for us for a while.
That's good. Is the committee going to keep the field updated on how's that information going to flow? Like a guy in an engine company, how's he going to find out about what's transpired in this committee? Is it?
Well, what's going to happen is every quarter we decided to have a meeting of the staffs, if you will, between fire and EMS staff, and we've already had one of those. Actually, we had it at the end of October. So we've had a staff meeting, a joint staff meeting, to talk about issues, and the recommendations that come back from fire EMS will go to that staff and give their presentation, their recommendation, and then we in turn can either put it out in writing or bring it to the staff of the fire service and let everybody else know, or do it right here on Frontline. Whatever we need to do to get the message out.
Okay, good. Well, I think that's going to be a really worthwhile committee, and I hope that they can get a lot of these little issues, or not so little issues, that are going on right now and get that settled and get back to the business of providing service for the public.
I think so, and I think it's going to be real good.
Good. Okay, let's cover the captain's upgrade a little bit. I know that there's some concern out there. The police department and the fire department captains and sergeants respectively got an upgrade, and we're not, as I understand it, getting the upgrade at the same time. And I think there are a lot of issues out there that are concerns based on the time. Mm-hmm. And can you outline that for us? How that transpired, why it is, and
well, there's a letter that we sent out to the field that we got from Human Resources, acknowledging the fact that the PDQ that was filled out by all of our fire captains was reviewed, and they were awarded a 5% pay increase because of that, because of their job requirements, which is a positive note to the captains that did such a good job in filling those things out. The negative side of that is, if there is a negative side, is that the pay increase will come in July in this next year's budget. Simple reason for that fact is that there is no money available to provide an increase midstream budget without cutting other programs. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about an increase for the number of individuals that we have in the fire department that's about $180,000 to $200,000 for a year. You break that down into half and make it effective January 1, that's about $80,000 or $90,000. That is just not laying around in the fire department's budget. I mean, we're pretty streamlined as it is. So we as a department, you know, you find the money or you don't find the money, and unfortunately we couldn't find the money, so it's to be awarded in July.
And one of the things I think that I was most impressed about the other day in the staff meeting, Chief Dizell made it perfectly clear that this city manager does not believe in parity as much as he believes in job performance. You know, if you're doing the job, he's going to reward you for it. So the thing with the police fire issue might not be parity forever. You know, it's going to be based on work that you're doing.
I think that's probably a fact of life, buddy, with all of our jobs. There's no guarantee that whatever you do is equivalent to whatever a police sergeant does or whatever, you know, a state trooper does, and so you don't maintain parity with that. So as long as you're doing your job and you're doing the job that you're being paid to do, if you can continue to do that, then he's going to support you. If you can't, you have to look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah. Okay. One other issue before we get on with the program. I know we're talking about a new performance appraisal system. And I know a lot of the officers out there would be happy to hear this after they've had to fill out those ones we've been using for a long time.
Well, the city has adopted a new performance appraisal system that's supposed to be more streamlined and a lot easier to use and a lot easier to understand. I don't know all the details of it yet, but I did have a long chat with Human Resources last week and have invited them to our December staff meeting to share this performance appraisal with the staff and go through a little training, if you will, to discuss that. And if it's as easy as has been indicated by Human Resources, I think everybody out there is going to really like the change once it's implemented.
Is it a little shorter format, or?
Well, I think it's on about a half a page. You know, and there's really not a lot of numbers guessing game out there. You state facts about the individual and that you're rating, and put down there exactly what you think of this person, and let it go from there.
All right. Well, there's a lot of good issues out there. I personally appreciate you coming by here. I'm sure the field people do, and discussing some of these things with us. So once again, thank you.
Sure.
This month on Frontline, we've got a couple really good segments for you. One is John Waring's part 2 of his fitness program at Company 19, and that was we got a lot of good comments last month on that segment, and he's finishing up part 2, and I think you'll enjoy that. I had a chance to pin Chief Brunacini from Phoenix down while he was out here and did an interview with him, and I think you'll find that real interesting. He's a very insightful leader of his fire department, and I think after you hear him, you'll find out why Phoenix has the department that they do. Watch your bulletin boards that Bob puts on the program each month. Especially this month, they're pretty active, and they're usually your first notification of any kind of class going on down here at the training center. We also had the opportunity to find a guy that was here during our HTR school that was a ladder company officer or ladder company personnel in New York on Truck 4 in Manhattan. And he teaches forcible entry all over the country, and we got him to spend about 10 minutes or so with us to talk about some aspects of forcible entry. And I think you'll find that there's some things on there that you might not have even ever thought about before, because I know they were for me, and I think you'll get a real good educational experience out of that. We don't have you ever wondered this month, but don't be disappointed, because we got a Safety Bob video to show you starring Herb Mayer from our safety office in Virginia Beach, and then we're going to end up the program with the music video from the HTR program. So sit back, kick your feet up, and enjoy the program. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Welcome back to another segment of Health and Fitness. You recognize this gentleman with me. This is Mr. John Waring. And John, tell you, you've been in this industry a long time. How about telling folks a little bit about your history?
Saying that.
A long time.
History, you mean like some of the things physically?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you know, I was 20 years in the Navy. I spent 20 years in the United States Navy. I fought all Navy, and I wrestled all Navy, which was very, very unusual. I don't know of anybody else that fought all Navy and wrestled all Navy. I did both of them. Played football in the Navy. I did feats of strength no one in the world has done till this day. For instance, I held back a fully accelerated motorcycle with my teeth. I did that for Life magazine. And then I held back a full accelerated automobile with my legs and my back, which I did on the Ed Sullivan Show. And I also held 12 men on my shoulders. which came disregard that 12 was 1,265 pounds. It was 7 men on my shoulder. The
Who's counting at that point?
I just built a building, 12 guys. Yeah, 7 guys I had on my shoulders for 1,265 pounds, which was a record. It was beaten only by Paul Anderson. You remember Paul Anderson?
Sure.
The old strongman. And so, you know, I've been around the business a long time and accomplished a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish. And you can be anything you want to be. Anybody ever tells me I just never got any breaks, I say to him, you didn't want to do it. You can do anything in this world you want to do. If you want it bad enough, if you don't make it, it's because you didn't want it bad enough. You can be anything.
Super. Well, speaking of being anything, the guys here would like to do some training so they can be a little bit stronger, a little bit better at their job. So what do you say we show them one of those new rotation programs that you got set up?
Let's do it.
Okay, Mr. Waring, here we are, and we got them in on another rotation. You want to explain this rotation?
You know, but, Jim, it's most important now for the people we're talking to. We can do this individually, or we can do it as a group. You can come in and go this rotation by yourself, right? Or you can come in with 4 or 5 guys, 1 man at each station, and we rotate. So it can almost be entertaining as well as a good workout. If you notice now, Woody's down here doing important area, shoulders and back, very important, most important part of the body we can cover, particularly in regards to a fireman, okay? Back and shoulders. Woody's doing what we call a pulling motion, lat pulls. If you notice, he's going all the way to the front. If he had that thing, his feet propped up, he could go even further down, which is important for strengthening that back. He's working shoulders and back, lat pulls, very big on shoulders and back.
Great.
And now another additional exercise for the back and shoulder is 1-arm rows. Here's Dan over here keeping himself busy with a 1-arm row. Very important on this particular exercise is to not get the body incorporated into it. Okay, we want to use just the back, the shoulders, and that arm. If you start jerking that thing up, good possibility of hurting the back. All right, and we don't want to do that. So 1-arm row. What he would do there now is complete 12 on one side, and then go for 12 on the other side. All right? Notice we're moving through these exercises rapidly so we keep the sweat coming. Cardiovascular. Down here, Stan is breaking a sweat or keeping the sweat going while he's on the bike. Now, a little diversity. You know, we want to make this a little tougher this time. So he's on the bike, keeping that cardiovascular going, keeping the sweat coming, and doing some upper body workout. He's doing some sidearm raises, good for the deltoids, good for those shoulders, and he's going to throw in some cheating dumbbell curls again. Alternating cheating dumbbell curls. Terrific workout. What we've done now, remember we can go through the bench press, the sitting dumbbell curls, the lat back, then we go to the lat pulls, then we go to the 1-arm row, then over to the bike with the alternate exercise on the upper body.
Terrific. And how many rotations again on this?
This, good. I'm glad you brought that up, Jim. That's most important. In other words, if you went through this, you would go through, say, five sets. In other words, you could do this 5 times, 12 reps on each one of the exercises. If you're doing it by yourself, you would finish up with, say, 5 minutes on the bike.
Great. Well, it doesn't sound like we'd have any trouble making our target heart rate then.
Oh, positively not. And what's great about this, too, for instance, down at the police department, we had what we call the over-the-hill gang. And they used to come in at lunchtime, and there'd be maybe 8 or 10 guys, and we'd put them on stations, and on the whistle, when the whistle blew, we went. And we would keep going like that for 5 rotations. Great sweat, great workout, good resistive exercise, resistive program. So we're getting a little bit of bodybuilding in there and a lot of cardiovascular as well.
Great. Yeah. That's terrific. Sounds good. How we doing over there, Stan?
Hanging in there.
Okay, buddy. Once again, Mr. Waring, thanks for being with us today.
Always a pleasure, Jim.
Really
Always
appreciate it. Studies have shown us that the population of Crete has one of the world's lowest rates of heart disease and cancer. On today's nutrition segment, we want to talk about the reason why, and that reason is olive oil. The people of Crete eat more fat than any other people. 45% of the calories come from olive oil. It should follow that Cretans have more heart disease and die earlier, but we know that's wrong. In Crete, olive oil flows like wine. People of Crete consume more olive oil than any other nation. A study of dietary fat from the University of Minnesota found that death rates from heart disease were exceptionally low in men who consumed olive oil as their major source of fat. Well, how does olive oil work? For one thing, olive oil is dominated by so-called monounsaturated fatty molecules, which have a protective effect on the blood. Olive oil also preserves good HDLs, whereas vegetable oils tend to lower both dangerous LDLs and beneficial HDL-type cholesterol. Of the many types of olive oil, the most potent in terms of health is extra virgin, which is extracted by crushing and pressing the olives. The closer the olive to the original olive source, the greater the concentration of heart-protecting chemicals. Now, this bottle in front of me is extra light. It's also very light in color, and once again, it is lighter in the protective chemicals for the heart. The darker the material, the darker the olive oil, the better it is for us. Just like onions, the stronger the taste, the better it is. Try sauteing some onions with a little bit of olive oil instead of vegetable oil that you would normally use, and I think you'll be really pleased with the result. Enjoy.
Okay, I want to show Mr. Waring what I can do with this thing here. All right, guys, you ready? All right. I'll show him how tough I am. Hey, oh, well, I don't, hey, fellas, hey, fellas, I'm not kidding, hey, fellas.
What a distinct privilege it is to have with us the man who has influenced so many good things about our department, and he probably doesn't even know it, or maybe he does know it. Chief Alan Brunacini from the Phoenix Fire Department. And Chief, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend a few minutes with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
One of the things I wanted to talk about, I guess, was how did your department get to be so influential in the fire service? Is that something that you did, or something that was already there before you got there?
That's an interesting question. I think that, at least in Phoenix, we probably just did what came naturally to a fire department. Is that we're a lot like you all. We have extraordinary people, and we've been in a setting that's been very progressive. So we've just tried to use those resources and provide programs that use the skills and the motivation and the capability of the people in the system. And I guess when you do that, it attracts a certain amount of attention. Then you make friends as you go along. I know our two departments have been very close through the years. Harry and I have been good friends for a long time. And so you sort of multiply that. In other words, the more people that you know and you're able to understand and sort of deal with and share experiences. I know, for example, our rescue guys, our special operations guys, have cross-pollinated a lot during the years, and we've been very close. So I guess it's just the fact that you have people who are trying to do the same things, and that you come from the profession sort of from the same position, and it's fun to get along, and I think that's really one of the pleasures of the fire service, really.
One of the things I noticed when I was out there was the consumer-based orientation that those firefighters in Phoenix had, and I think that's one of the things that we're trying to do here, and we've gone a long way to do that. Can you spend a minute maybe expanding on the importance of us viewing the citizens as consumers and doing the best job possible?
I think historically in the fire service we've had an organizational chart and certainly an organizational approach that has really not included the customer. And I don't mean to say that we haven't delivered good service to the customer, but I don't think that we really had much of a plan. I know as I came through the fire service, they taught us how to lay hose and raise ladders and put out fires, and then we got into EMS. But we always sort of thought of our jobs as really protecting property. And I think when we even got into EMS, we've looked at those people that we delivered EMS to as either patients or sometimes as victims. And I know in our system for the last 4 or 5 years, we've started to sort of shift that emphasis and begin to think of the people in the community, as you use the term consumers, or as customers. In other words, that we really work for those people, and the system is directed toward delivering service to those people in a very positive kind of way. And so we've tried to manage a program of simply customer service and a lot of the other things that you use when you start looking at customer service to sort of package that up. And started to look at the needs of the customer, what language do they speak, I mean that both literally and figuratively, what kinds of situations do they find themselves in, how do we train our people and prepare our people to deal in the kinds of situations and the ways that we have to somehow to be effective with the people. And we really in the past have not really connected with the community, I think, in the ways that we're starting to. It's been interesting to see over the last couple of years the reaction from the public, and it's just been absolutely extraordinary. And I think the firefighters do it naturally. I mean, you don't have to hit guys over the head in the fire department to take care of the customers. I think we've always really done that. So we've added some program direction and some support to those people, and I think it's really started to pay off. And I think we're just getting started in it. I think all of us are.
Yeah. So it was basically something you manifested at the top, but the firefighters really picked. They're the ones that drive that whole program. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And we're seeing, I think, today, and I think we're all looking at some total quality management kinds of things where people on the bottom are the people who know the most about the work. And I think as we empower those people, and that's almost a cliche anymore to say empowerment, but to give the people on the line the ability to really control the system that directs the service to the customers. And again, there's a place where we start to think of the people inside the system as customers. In other words, they're internal customers. So we've sort of shifted the emphasis from sort of control and rule orientation to support and trying to be persuasive and trying to see, again, what are the real needs of the customers and how do we organize ourselves and direct ourselves so that we really take care of those needs. It's been a neat process, really. It's been interesting.
Let me ask you something kind of off guard, because I know we haven't spoken about this, but we've been caught in a slow sort of period here lately, economically and in the organization itself. Has Phoenix ever been caught in a situation like that? And how would you best say for the average firefighter who, say, is not moving up as fast as he thought or not getting the raises he thought he would, how would you say to him stay motivated and keep going until the light starts shining again?
Well, I think that if we look at the recession that we've all come through, that's changed a little bit of the math as far as the resources we've been able to attract, the way we've been able to promote people, the way the departments have been able to grow, and particularly in areas like Phoenix or Virginia Beach, we're used to growing. So that has certainly slowed down in Phoenix. We've gone for over a year with not having a recruit class. We've extended some of the promotional lists because we haven't promoted people, because we've lived through exactly the same thing. I think if I was going to talk to firefighters, I would just say to all of us is that this is a long-term deal. In other words, I think that we're disappointed that we go through a recession, but everybody in the community is going through that recession. I think that if you looked at comparative benefits, generally firefighters have still got a lot to be thankful for. But I think that we're going to see the investment that we make in routine times and good times are going to pay off when we do go through a recession. And as I trudge around the fire service, I see some fire departments that are taking a bigger hit than others. And I think you could look back in time, we just talked about customers, and that things like the investments that we make in our people internally so that they can deliver better service externally is going to pay off during these times. But we just need to take a long-term view, and we'd sign up for this thing for life. I mean, being a firefighter is really kind of a lifetime commitment. So if we can't go through a recession and have that actually strengthen the relationships, then I think that we need to look at how we manage that system and change it so that it can. And I know in my system, we've gone through that same process. We've probably lost, I don't know, $4 or $5 million out of our base budget in that during the recession. And this last year, we took a one-shift furlough to save 2 ladder companies. And I think that was an investment that we made in human relations and labor relations and strengthening relations in the department. We were very proud of it. We essentially had 100% of the people voted for the furlough in the process. So again, I think that there's some things that go on that we can actually strengthen our departments during this period of time. Nobody likes going through it. I mean, it's a pain in the neck to lose resources, but I guess you just got to get through it and stay positive and keep everybody together and just get on through it and get on to better times, you know.
Well, I know you're a very busy man with a very busy schedule, so I certainly appreciate for the firefighters in Virginia Beach and the officers that you take the time to talk to us and they finally get to see who you are and talk to you rather than see your face in a magazine, because you certainly have a lot of face in a magazine.
Okay, well, thanks for having me here, and thank you guys in Virginia Beach. It's been nice to hang out with you guys, and it's nice to have some good friends on the East Coast. So,
thank you, Chief. On Back to the Basics this month, we're going to try to get back to the basics, and we're going to talk a little bit about forcible entry. As part of the HTR school, we found out one of the students had a special interest and special expertise in forcible entry, and that is Andy Spire, who used to ride on Truck 4 in Midtown Manhattan. And Andy teaches around the country in forcible entry, so we thought it'd be a good treat to have him come by and maybe talk about some forcible entry tools and different techniques that we can use to help us out in the field. So Andy, thanks for spending some time with us.
You're welcome, buddy.
Let me ask you something before we get going. You know, we said you worked on Truck 4 in New York City. Is that where you got most of your experience in forcible entry?
That was where I got most of my experience working in a big city department. And then working on the West Coast before that, you know, we did a lot of smaller buildings, single-family dwellings.
Okay, give me a good story now about New York. How many doors have you opened at any one fire? Give me something good now. There's a lot of people out there.
Well, probably the most doors I ever forced was 15 in a fire. But my company, after I left, went to the World Trade Center fire, and they did 109 doors at the World Trade Center.
That's all right, 109 doors. You could get some good time experience pretty quick doing 109 doors.
Yeah, they said that they took the bare minimum for equipment.
Is that right?
Just a hydro ram tool, a halogen tool, a flathead axe, and a K tool. and they just rotated carrying the equipment up the stairs. They searched from 60 to 90.
60 to 90?
Those are the floors they searched.
Man, I can't. That's hard to even fathom. We don't even have a building over like 21 floors, so that's hard for us to even imagine. Let's let's go ahead and get to the segment, and let's talk a little bit about the different kinds of tools that we're going to use. Maybe starting up here with the rabbit tool. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. The rabbit tool is a relatively new tool, and we carried one on ladder 4, and our irons man carried it. He carried that along with the Halligan tool, the flathead axe, and a K tool.
Mm-hmm.
So when we weighed him with all of his equipment, with his breathing apparatus and turnout gear, he was 108 pounds. So that was kind of the pack mule of the company. And some things you want to remember about the rabbit tool are, when you take it out of the bag, you want to make sure this lever is facing forward. That's going to be what you need to do, and make sure that you have fluid in the system.
Right.
Otherwise, you won't pump up. They also give you a little wonder bar in it and a small rubber mallet that you can use to strike the tool. We got rid of those just because it was extra weight, and frequently we had to go 15 or 20 floors by stairs.
Right.
When you use this tool, you'll take this and put it in the door jamb and smack it in position. And these are going to be used on doors that are inward opening for the most part. And then you just pump this up, and this forces the door. We also were able to use this on steel doors and jambs that were outward opening. If they were wide enough, they would be able to give us a good purchase to get our Halligan tool in.
Right. Okay, let's move on down the list, Andy. You want to talk, let's talk about the Halligan tool for just a few minutes. I guess, is it a true story, New York City firefighter is the one that invented the Halligan tool?
That's true. Captain Halligan developed the tool. And actually, they weren't allowed to use these tools for a number of years because the city wasn't going to buy them for one of their own employees. And so the companies bought them out of their own pockets. They chipped in, and then finally they started to buy them on their own. The tool has been changed around. Several companies make it. This one is a copy of the original Halligan. This is actually called a hooligan tool, and there's several companies that make them. And the ideal length to get is 36 inches. They come in several lengths. This is a 36-inch bar. If you get any longer, then sometimes it's too wide for the doorway,
right,
and it's awkward to carry. When we use the Halligan tool, we want to use it generally in conjunction with a flathead axe. And right here, you can see they've put them together. When we carry them like this is called being married. So you can see if this tool was 42 or 44 inches long, it wouldn't fit properly.
very well with the axe.
So this is a good fit here. And in this case, you've got a strap on it to hold them together. We want to use it with a flathead axe because if you notice on the pickhead axe, it's got a very poor striking surface.
Right.
This area here, or you end up using this part of the tool and trying to smash it this way, which isn't very effective.
Mm-hmm.
The Halligan tool actually is a combination of several tools. It was a claw tool and other carpentry and demolition tools that were put together originally. And it's handy to do a lot of things. We can pull lock cylinders off with it. We can pull off padlocks. This is the fork of the tool here. This here is a spike, and this is the adze on this end here.
How did the adze get its name? What is all that about?
An adze actually is what they call the back of a hoe or the back of a Pulaski.
Oh, yeah.
Just another tool, and this is just a smaller version of it.
Does it come, I guess, from typifies what a plow would look like in a field? I mean, is that the general idea?
Actually, a hoeing type tool of some sort for digging up dirt.
All right, let's talk about the K tool now. I know we carry these on all of our units, and most of the guys have a pretty good idea how to use them. But I'd like for you to go over it anyway, because I know you've got pretty much experience doing that.
Okay, the K tool is an ideal way to pull a lock cylinder if it's sticking out at all, and there are several other tools that you can use that are multi-purpose, that are small wrecking bars and little lock cylinder pullers. But this is the best because of the sharp jaw that you've got on this, and that gets a good purchase. If there's any part of the cylinder sticking out at all, then you can beat this onto it and then put a Halligan tool and get leverage to pull it out. Using the smaller 12 and 14-inch hand tools, you don't get enough leverage, and it's a lot more work.
Right.
Then if you notice with the tool, you get this little key tool, and there's two different ends of this, and that's why when you pull the cylinder, it's important to grab the cylinder in your hand and take a look at the back of it. If it has a long, thin stem, then you know that you'll use the screwdriver end of this tool, or a thin screwdriver, to open the door. If it has a little nose-shaped cam on it, then you use this end, and you'll put it inside the hole in the 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock position and twist it just a quarter turn, and that'll unlock the door.
All right. Okay, Andy, let's move again down the line. We got some newer equipment that we carry on our tech truck. For one, I know this is kind of a copy of an older tool that we used to all carry. We used to call it a finger smasher. That's about all it did. I see this is a newer version, I guess, of a finger smasher.
Right, and we used to call it a K-bar T tool, basically because the only fitting we had was this can opener style one for opening up sheet metal. And now they've expanded this tool, made it a little nicer. It's got a nice locking mechanism for when you add the tips on. And in this case here, we've got the back end of a Halligan, or the fork end. And this is actually pretty nice because what we can do is we can use this in place of a Halligan tool for forcing a door. Instead of having to smash it with an axe, one man can use this by sliding this back and forth and pound this in position. So this actually would be a handy tool specifically just for opening doors. Once you get the door open, then you're basically carrying a harpoon gun with you. And when we pick our forcible entry tools, we're trying to use tools that'll do multiple things. And so ideally a Halligan tool and an axe are probably the best combination to carry because they'll do multiple things.
Okay, Andy, let's do this. Let's get the Halligan tool and the axe and maybe the K tool. We'll take a little tour around the fire training center, see what kind of doors we have, and maybe we'll get your expertise on how you would open those kinds of doors.
Okay.
Okay, Andy, here we have an outward opening door. Let's talk a little bit about, well, I'll tell you what, before we talk about this door in particular, let's talk about doors in general and how you approach what you're going to do as determined by what kind of door it is.
Okay, buddy, you hit the nail on the head. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at a door and determine if it's inward and outward opening. And in this case, the door opens outward towards us. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the locking mechanisms. How many are there? In this case, there's only one lock, and it looks like it's just a doorknob lock. Another thing we're going to look at, we're going to look across the door to see if we see any bolt heads. If we see bolt heads, that's going to tell us that probably there's a bar going across it. Okay, we're also going to look for any kind of bolt heads that are going to be in the wall sticking out. So in this case, we look at the door, and it doesn't have that. It has a doorknob. Now, there's several ways we can get in this. Most likely, the lock is a very small throw. Even though it's a steel door and jamb, it should be relatively easy to get in.
All right, so let's talk about technique for getting in there then. Would you consider this, first of all, to be a relatively easy door to get into?
This will be a relatively easy door, and this will be the kind of door you're going to see on the rear of a lot of the stores. Now, the thing to keep in mind is the front of the building is usually protected better than the back because usually it's in an alley or it's in a place where people don't travel. So I would expect, looking at a door like this, if all I see is a key lock on the knob, that there's going to be other devices that are on here that I can't see. So probably there's going to be some kind of bolt heads or some other means of blockage on this door that we're going to have to deal with. In this case, this is relatively simple. Now, a lot of people will say, well, heck, what we do is we pull the pins out and pull the door out. And if a guy's been doing that for a long time and he has good luck with it, then he should continue to do that. But when I teach my classes, I say don't waste time with the pins. Because what will happen is sometimes they'll be sticking out a little bit, and you think, oh, heck, they're halfway there. So you'll pound out the pins, but then you'll spend a lot of time and realize that the jamb and door are too tight, and you're not going to get it out. And when you finally do get it out, it's just going to fall down on you. What we want to do is we want to keep the integrity of the door, so if we have to, we could close it, depending on the severity of the fire.
Okay, so generally speaking, around the lock mechanism now, where would we place our Halligan tool on this door?
There's several ways we can open this door. The first technique is what I call spooning the door, and we're going to go a little bit above or below the lock. We're going to take the tool, put it in the door like this, and then we're going to strike it right here with the back of an axe or a maul.
Right.
We're going to knock it into the door, and then maybe, if we have to, if it's tight, we'll twist down a little bit, get a little bit of a bend, put it back in, and then we'll simply just pull back like that, and we'll pull the door out. So what we've done is we've gotten the tool back into the end of the door until it hits up against the end of the jamb, and then we've just spooned the door out. And with a short throw on a doorknob lock, that's going to be relatively simple.
Okay, is there any particular spot that's better, up or below?
Either way, just a little above or below. We don't want to be directly on it because then we're not going to be able to get all the way into the door. And it's just going to take a little longer. Another technique we could use is we could just hit this with the back of the axe. We could break the doorknob off, and then we could use a screwdriver to open the door. But then we're doing more damage. By spooning this door open, we'll make a very small mark on the door. The occupant will be able to close this and lock it when we're done.
All right, and I guess the least amount of damage we can do, the better off. Andy, let's go to maybe an inward opening door and look at one of those.
Okay. Okay, in this case, we've got an inward opening door. And the easiest indication for that is by looking, and in this case, we don't see any hinges. So there's several things we want to check. One is we look and see how many locks there are on the door. In this case, again, we have just a simple doorknob lock. If we had multiple locks here, we could look over at the hinge side, take the back of the Halligan tool or the axe, wrap the door, and possibly, if it's old hinges and old screws, we could just knock the door off the hinges.
All right.
If we're going to do that, we'll start at the top and work our way down. So if there's smoke coming from back there, it's coming up above us instead of coming from below.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. You don't think about that. If you hit it on the bottom, it's going to roll out and obscure your vision. And
right, and then we end up with a little with a pup tent effect actually. And then in the end, you're standing up trying to break the bottom one off.
Right.
So the best is to start at the top, and then the weight of the door will take it down.
Okay, so if you're not going to do that and we go over to the lock side and there are no other locks, generally speaking, what's the best way for us to get into that jam?
Okay, in this case, we've got the simple lock. If we had several locks, then we're going to have to do this process several times, and this would be an ideal door if it had several locks for the rabbit tool or the hydro ram tool, where we just bang it into the door and let the force of the tool push the door straight in. Another thing to keep in mind is when we open this door, fire and heat and smoke may belch out of here, so we want some way to control this door. So maybe we take the end of a pike pole to hold onto the knob, or we take a personal search rope or a chain or some kind and have someone hold that. So if when we open this door, smoke and heat belch out, somebody can jerk that door closed until an engine company is there to start extinguishing the fire.
Okay.
So in this case, we've got a simple doorknob lock, and there's several things we can do. Use just the adz ends of the tool, put that a little bit above or below the lock, and we can push our foot up against the door to get a space in this case. But generally, we're going to have to tap the tool right back here with the back of an axe or a sledgehammer or a maul. We'll wrap that in so that it goes to the end of the jam, and then we'll simply push down like this or pull the tool in like that, and that'll just lever the door in. If there are multiple locks on this, then we're going to need a little bit more leverage. So we're going to want to use the fork end of the tool. And when we do that, what works best is to use the back end of the fork. We take the tool and put it a little bit above or below the lock. And in this case, we want to make sure that the hand on our left side that's holding the head of the tool is palm up, because we want our elbow up against our body. If we hold it this way, our elbow is going to be close to our striking area.
Right.
And the striker may smack us in the back of the elbow and give us an early retirement. So in this case, I've got my elbow up against my body, palm up. I grab it. I hold the tool slightly upward. I tell him to strike. He strikes right across the back of the adz. As the tool goes into the door and I get a good purchase, it'll start to straighten out, and then I'll push the tool in, and that'll force the door. If I don't get enough leverage doing that, then I'll take the axe, or in this case, another axe, and I'll put it in here as a wedge, and then I'll get enough of a purchase where I can get leverage to force the door. Now, I could carry a splitting wedge with me, but that would be just another item I'd have to have in my pockets. So that's why it's handier to have an axe or several axes when we're working like this. As the door opens up, if smoke and heat belch out, we pull on our chain and jerk the door back. And then, a key thing to keep in mind is as soon as we get that door open, the very first member is going to search behind the door, because frequently that's where we're going to find people. And if the first person doesn't check, that may go unchecked for the duration of the fire.
Okay, Andy, let's move over to maybe a set of patio doors or something.
Okay. Okay, in this case, we've got a glass window with a metal frame around it. We've got a locking mechanism in the middle of the door. We take a look in here, and most likely this door actually has a rod that locks in the bottom. And if we look at the door jamb, we look down here, you'll see that there's scrape marks over here. So we know that that's where the locking mechanism is. It's not over here. We can't force this type of door, because if we do, we're just going to bend the bar. We're not actually going to open it up, and we're going to break the glass. If we got to a building like this and it was a working fire, most likely the company would get off the rig and somebody would just take an axe and break the glass. And that would be fine. It's a quick way to get in the building. But if you look here, it's mirrored glass, but you see here there's a panic bar going across it. That bar has to get removed, probably with an axe or some type of tool at the base. You'll have to smack it. It's really important to get that bar removed, because once you crawl into the building, you need to know that you can run out in a hurry or drag somebody out and not have to crawl under a bar. So that's something you want to keep in mind. In this case, they've got a lock cylinder, but it's recessed inside the handle. So the handle is acting as a guard. And the K-tool actually will pull something that's almost flush, but in this case, it's too flush. So there's a couple of things we can do. One thing we can try to do is make a space for our tool up on top here. So what I'll do is I'll hold the tool at an angle like this and smack it with the axe. And what I'm trying to do is snake bite the door, make an indentation, so that ideally I can get the tool up behind this, break this pin off, and pull the handle out of the way. Once I've done that, then my K-tool will slide on here, and I'll pull this just like I would any other type of door with a mortise or rim lock. Now in this case, this may be kind of tough to break this bolt. Once I get a space from snake biting it with a Halligan tool, I can use my my rabbit tool, put that in there, pump it up a couple of times, and that'll just break the bolt right off. So that's a really good use for the rabbit tool that normally we wouldn't try. Another thing to try is, since we know the door locks and unlocks at the bottom, is that we know that when the maintenance guy sweeps, he sweeps the dirt out the door a lot of times. So that little hole or track can fill up with dirt. So sometimes the bar doesn't have a full throw. So we can take our tool and tap it in position just a little bit to one side. Now, depending on how much space there is, we can try to rock this to one side or the other and try to wiggle it around and pull on the door at the same time, and hopefully we can pull it out of the track and open the door, not doing any damage. And when we're all done, they'll just lock the place back up. So that would be a good option on a place that has a sprinkler water flow alarm, but there's nothing coming out of the drain valve, or we have a smoke investigation. We don't want to do any damage. Ideally, for those type of buildings, the K-tool works really well because we can put it back together.
Right. That's some amazing insight on just different kinds of doors and how to get into them. I think generally speaking, if if you come up to a door like this, you'd have a tendency to put your Halligan tool in there and try to pry, in the middle where the lock cylinder is not taken into account. It goes up and down. So that's real interesting stuff. Let me ask you something. The old try before you pry. They always say. How many doors have you ever forced that were unlocked?
Oh, I'm sure I probably have forced one or two, but usually we try to feel those doors and check. I would like to mention briefly. A lot of guys that I teach, are seasoned firefighters with 10 or 15 years on the job, and they say, oh, heck, we just kick the doors. And I really would try to discourage kicking doors. And the reason for that is because with the newer doors and newer locks, it's a lot more difficult. One of the problems we see is that guys will come up and they'll try the door. Obviously, these are for inward opening doors, and they'll use their size 10 boot, and they'll smash the door. Now, with their bad luck, it may be a hollow core door. So now their foot gets stuck in the door, and the door swings open, fire and heat belch out, and they're hanging by their boot.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're lucky enough to be able to pull their foot out. Now they're standing in their socks in the hall that's on fire, and the rest of the company is going in to do a search, and they're trying to get their boot out of the door. So that doesn't really work very well. Another thing is you go to smash the door, and heat and smoke belch out. You fall back on your breathing apparatus bottle and get a face full of heat and smoke. What I tell guys is if they really have to kick a door, and they're that stubborn, then what they should do is they should turn around and kick the door like a mule.
Oh, from in back.
Right, they're going to get a lot more power in their kick. Plus, if heat and smoke do belch out, they'll land face first, they can protect themselves with their hands, and they can roll out of the way.
Man, that's great information. Andy, I certainly appreciate you taking time out. I know that you're missing the big cleanup after HTR school, so I know you want to hurry back and get to that. But I really do appreciate you taking the time to share some of your experience with us, and hopefully out there in the field it'll help some of the guys out there that are doing the forcible entry.
Thank you, buddy. I really enjoyed the HTR school. I look forward to coming back next year.
Good. Okay, for this section of Back to the Basics, we're going to send you back to the studio. That's going to about wrap it up for another edition of Frontline. We hope you've enjoyed the program. We're going to end up this month with the Safety Bob tape and the HTR video, the music video, but I need to explain to you a little bit about Safety Bob. Safety Bob is actually Herb Mayer from our safety office in Virginia Beach, and during HTR school he's assigned down here the entire week. We put such a tremendous emphasis on safety that a lot of time it allows us to, we have to provide a little levity for the students in order to keep their intensity up. So we make this little video to break things up and to make them be aware that, that safety can be fun, but it also is something very serious. And then we're going to go ahead and roll the HTR video after that, the music video. So we hope you've enjoyed the program. Call us down here if you've got anything you want to get on. Until next month, stay safe.
And now, the continuing adventures of Safety Bob.
It's a distinct privilege to have all the students from across the country here at our 9th annual Heavy and Tactical Rescue School. It's also a distinct privilege to have with us today from the Office of Safety in the City of Virginia Beach, Mr. Herb Mayer, who keeps track of everything around here to make sure we don't have any safety violations. And he's actually the one that's responsible to see that you have a safe environment this week. So we want to spend a little time with Herbie and find out what he's doing down here, commonly referred to as Safety Bob. So Herb, thanks for coming out here and spending some time with us.
Well, thank you, Captain Martinet. And I hope from watching this video that all of us will take safety a little more seriously. After all, it's your lives that are at stake here. And we'll go through and see some of the evolutions, some of the like confined space trenches and the vertical rescue. And hopefully you'll see the benefits of safety and also your personal protective equipment and their uses.
That's right. Very important subject, safety, and I know a lot of people think it's kind of corny, but we want the students to take a little time out and put a little serious side on them just for a few minutes so that we can demonstrate some of these things. Now, as I understand it, Herb, we'll probably visit the different sites that are going on, and we're going to show them some potential hazards that could be so that they can take this information back to their localities and maybe improve their safety record.
Absolutely. After all, again, it's your lives that are at stake.
Okay, Herb, let's wander on out to confined space and let's see what they're doing out there.
Okie doke.
Okay, Herb, we're over here at confined space. One of the first things that we're going to discuss is air. because air line, I know, and air itself is of concern to the people that are on the supplied air breathing apparatus. Can you talk a little bit about safety around the air stuff?
Well, basically, for the sake of time, as you can see, these hoses, if anything malfunctions, you have to live with air. Without air, you don't live. So,
Absolutely.
so being that their lives are at stake here, they know they better take care of it, because if they don't, it won't be taking care of them.
Okay, let's follow this line. Let's go over to see how they're utilizing this line in the tanker. Want to do that, Herb?
Absolutely. We're here with Perry Ale, Master Firefighter and Instructor. Perry, explain to us the hazard that exists with the tanker.
Okay, this particular evolution is designed using inline breathing apparatus. We put people in the space that's full of water. With the water in there, it kind of gives them more of a confinement. It also gets them familiar with working with the units in water, which are functional there, and trying to give them as much exposure as possible to just being cramped up and real tight in the environment itself.
Over here at the Confined Space Tube, we're with Charlie King, instructor with the State Department of Fire Programs. And Charlie, I think as part of the curriculum to be an instructor in the Department of Fire Programs, I know that you're required to do these evolutions just like the students are required to do them. Can you elaborate on what you're going to demonstrate for us?
I can do anything. I'm going to take it through this 15-inch tube here today, and I'm going to make it work. It's all mind over bladder.
You're going to try to go through the tube?
I'm going to go through the tube. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get through it.
Herbie, what do you think?
Safety Bob says, I don't think this is a good idea.
Safety Bob says he doesn't think this will work. Well, we'll have to stand by. Charlie?
Just in case we have any emergencies, I got the plunger.
We got the plunger. All right, baby, let's go.
Let's do it.
Safety Bob says this is no good idea.
Hey, Charlie! Charlie!
We're out here on the rope tower with Safety Bob again, and he's going to demonstrate some advanced rappelling techniques. Man, Herbie, we're real proud of you. You know, you've advanced all the way to the real dangerous things in rappelling, and this is not easy stuff to do. This Australian rappel. You going to be able to do this, Herb?
Safety Bob says, I don't think this is a good idea. This is kind of dangerous. I don't think so.
Oh, you're a wimp, man. We got all these students out here. They got to watch you screw up and not do this. What's the deal?
Lightheaded. I don't know. It's not a good idea.
All right. Come on, let's go do it. We ain't got all day. Okay, you ready? Go, Herb. Go. Safety Bob, are you all right?
I don't think this was such a good idea.
I guess this was a little too advanced for you at this stage.
Mommy.
Terry Kisner, you're leading the rope evolutions this year. I want to, with Safety Bob, I want to talk a little bit about some safety things, some things to be conscious of when you're around the rope tower. Can you allude to something?
Well, one of our big issues is getting the students down off the tower safely. Another problem we have is equipment along the edge.
Right.
And if you're coming along under a tower and somebody happens to kick something off, Safety Bob, are you all right?
Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, balls on the 5-yard line.
All right, you're okay, Bob. I tell you what, you can keep the beaner. I'll take it off the inventory.
Herb, you think we probably ought to do a trench piece?
In all honesty, I'd normally say no, buddy, but for the sake of the students, safe as we are, I think it wouldn't hurt.
You know, we're always real safe in trench and conscientious. I don't think there's a need. I think it's just a waste of time.
Absolutely. We've never had any type of fatality or injury with this 9 years of the school, but just on the sake of the students' behalf, we'll go ahead and...
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and do it.
I'm here with Charlie Isley, paramedic with the Maryland State Police. Charlie, explain to us some of the hazards of the trench.
Herb, thanks for being with us today. Open trenches are really dangerous. You could come by, just fall right into this open hole. You see we have some protective tape along the side here so that somebody just doesn't fall and have a cave in around them.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Harv.
Right on, brother.
One of the things we want to talk about now, Safety Bob, I know it's something that's close to your heart, and that's defensive driving. Can you elaborate a little bit on safety precautions in defensive driving?
Oh, absolutely. It's a major concern of mine. In fact, one of the main areas is pedestrian safety. Most pedestrian deaths are just obviously due to careless, inattentive drivers, not paying attention to what they're doing. And it's a shame, but these things happen.
Safety Bob, we're over here at the Confined Space mock-up. I see now that you've got your personal protective clothing on. Can you elaborate as to the importance of personal protective clothing and what it might be used for?
Yes, obviously it's to protect the firefighters, but my main purpose is I just don't like to get dirty. I abhor getting dirty, so that's the reason why I'm going down here with this on.
Oh, so you're going to actually go down in the Confined Space culvert with your personal protective clothing on?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not getting dirty.
Dave, excuse me, I see you running Evolution here. Safety Bob and I would like to come over and do a little thing for the students. Do you mind?
No, we don't have any problem with that, buddy, as long as we can get all the pre-entry procedures done correctly first.
Okay, what do you got for pre-entry procedures?
Well, right now we're doing some atmospheric monitoring, getting a little ventilation going, and you can see Dan set up in his personal protective gear and the proper harness.
Okay, so we're going to show Dan being lowered down in the hole. Dan, how's the readings going?
I don't know, buddy. I think the flammability's kind of high.
Okay, well, hold on.
I'm going down there.
Safety Bob, do you really think that's such a good idea?
You think this face is stupid?
Safety Bob, you sure you want to go down there?
Hook me out.
All right.
Don't get me dirty, though. Don't get me dirty. You know I hate getting dirty.
Safety Bob, are you sure you should be smoking during this evolution?
Oh, absolutely. It's safe. Don't get me dirty now. You know I hate getting dirty.
Come on back. Safety Bob! Safety Bob! Safety Bob! Safety Bob, are you all right?
Am I dirty?
In conclusion, Safety Bob, do you have anything you'd like to say?
T.
From the 9th Annual Heavy and Tactical Rescue School, until the 10th Annual, stay safe.